So, okay, can you all look at me? Can you all see me? Okay, right. Because this is the first time I'm teaching on live YouTube. So, okay, okay, fine. Stop putting the messages because if I look at the messages, I think I can't go ahead. So, okay, okay, is it blurred? Rock, someone is saying that the board is blurred. No, just tell me one thing. Is my voice clear and is the board clear? These two things. Is everything fine? Okay, right. So I said everyone to join exactly by 6. Someone is asking to stream in 4K. నాకు లేదురా, నాకు only I have 600 దాని ఏమంటారు 600 into 600 ఉంది నా వెబ్ క్యామ్. ఇట్స్ నాట్ 720 ఆర్ it's blurred. I think you have to adjust your board, I think. Many people are saying it's clear. అయితే కొంతమంది వాళ్ళ వెబ్ క్యామ్ ప్రాబ్లమో ఏదో రెజల్యూషన్ పెంచుకోవడమో ఏదో చేయండి. ఐ థింక్ ఇట్స్ ఫైన్ బికాజ్ నేను జూమ్లో ఇంతవరకు నేను ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసెస్ ఇక్కడే దీని మీదుగా చెప్పింది. సో ఓకే, లెట్స్ గో హెడ్. బట్ వాట్ ఓన్లీ 47 మెంబర్స్, 170 మెంబర్స్లో 47 మెంబర్స్ వచ్చారు. ఐ థింక్ దిల్ బి జాయినింగ్ లేటర్. ఆ క్వాలిటీ గురించి వదిలేసేయండి. ఐ థింక్ ఇట్స్ క్లియర్. యాక్చువల్లీ క్లియర్గానే ఉండాలి బికాజ్ నేను 2 months నుంచి ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసెస్ తీసుకున్నాను కదా. ఇట్ షుడ్ బి క్లియర్. లీవ్ అబౌట్ ద క్లారిటీ. ఓకే, లెట్ మీ స్టార్ట్ దిస్ చాప్టర్, nutrition. So, nutrition, before going to nutrition, I just want to ask you all first, what is meant by nutrition? What is meant by nutrition? Nutrition ante it is the procurement. I think I have to look at the mic. Okay. Okay, so what is nutrition? Nutrition meaning it is the procurement of nutrients or procurement of raw materials which are required for the basic body building, body development, growth, repair, and all the functions. Okay, and also for maintaining the body functions. That is called as nutrition. And for animals, the raw materials can be vitamins, proteins, carbohydrates, minerals, like that. But for plants, the raw materials are minerals from the soil, water from the soil, and carbon dioxide from atmosphere, like that. So using these raw materials, the plants make their food, they grow, they develop, and they perform all their functions. So basically, nutrition meaning it is the procurement of raw materials for body building, body development, and what is this, and body normal functioning of the body. Next, coming to nutrition. Nutrition is of two types. You all know it is autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition ante it is a nutrition where when an organism can make its own food. And heterotrophic nutrition, it is the nutrition where the organism cannot make its own food, and therefore it will depend upon other organism for food. So in this chapter we'll discuss nutrition in plants, nutrition in animals. Nutrition in plants ante about photosynthesis, and nutrition in animals ante about human digestive system. So before going to the definition of photosynthesis, look at this equation for photosynthesis which was given by Van Neel in 1931. 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll gives carbohydrates, water, oxygen. So we call photosynthesis as the basic life process because, and also the basic energy source, and the basic life process, because photosynthesis, it provides food or food energy for all the living organisms, all plants or all animals. They get food energy from this photosynthesis. So we get our food, there are four basic needs of life: food, clothing, shelter, and even fuel. So this food, clothing, shelter, fuel, all these four basic needs of life we get from photosynthesis, directly or indirectly. Next, uh, so we say photosynthesis as it is a basic life process where carbon dioxide and water are utilized in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll to make carbohydrates. Aithe, this equation was given in the early 19th century, 1931, and but before that there was a lot of investigation on photosynthesis. What is that investigation? First, the importance of water was proposed, or the importance of water for plant growth was observed by Van Helmont in 1634 by conducting an experiment for 5 years on a dwarf plant called willow plant. You know that experiment. And next, later, the importance of air for photosynthesis or for plant growth was recognized by Joseph Priestley in 1772 by uh, Beljar experiment. Beljar experiment. ఇక్కడ కామెంట్స్ చూస్తుంటే నాకు డిస్ట్రాక్ట్ అవుతుంది. వై యూ పీపుల్ ఏందేందో కామెంట్స్ రాస్తున్నారు. See, all of the students, please don't put all unnecessary comments. Just only if you have any doubts with regarding to this chapter or regarding to this lesson, only that you keep discussing or put comments, but don't put all unnecessary useless comments. I'm getting distracted. అసలుకే ఇది ఫస్ట్ టైం నేను స్ట్రీమింగ్ చేయడం. Anyhow, so next, after Van Helmont and Joseph Priestley. Joseph Priestley, he was the first person to discover oxygen, and he called oxygen as dephlogisticated gas. But later the name oxygen was coined by Lavoisier, who is known as the father of modern chemistry. Now, and next, sunlight gurinchi. I mean, next, the role of sunlight. I mean, Ingenhouse, he showed that not only water and carbon dioxide, even sunlight is also useful for photosynthesis, and oxygen is also released during photosynthesis by the hydral experiment that also I discussed already. And later, the chlorophyll, were the green color pigments from the plant were extracted, and also the name chlorophyll was given by Pelletier and Cavanto in 1817. And then next, Julius von Sachs in 1883, he showed that chlorophyll is not found, chlorophyll is not uniformly distributed in cytoplasm. The chlorophyll is found in a cell organelle called chloroplast. And next, Engelmann. Is there a way to disable the chat? Is there a way to disable the chat? I'm looking. మీరు చాట్ చేయకుండా, don't know. So okay, next, Engelmann in 1882, he showed that maximum photosynthesis occurs in red color light, and tarvata maximum it occurs in blue color light. This is about the history of photosynthesis. And next, we will discuss about starch test. How to do starch test. Starch test is used to detect is a test which is used to detect the presence of starch. ఎస్ సార్ ఎస్ సార్ ఎస్ సార్ అంటున్నారు. ఎలా ఎలా చాట్ డిజేబుల్ చేయాలి వీళ్ళది? ఆఫ్ కామెంట్స్ అంటే ఎలా ఎలా ఆఫ్ చేయాలి? కామెంట్స్ని ఆఫ్ చేయడం నాకు మీ పేర్లు మీ మెసేజ్లు మాత్రమే కనిపిస్తున్నాయి ఇక్కడ. ఓకే, ఇదంతా టైం వేస్ట్ అవుతుందిరా. ఐ విల్ గో హెడ్. నేను అటు చూడండి, చాట్ దగ్గర చూడండి ఇంకా. సో ఇదంతా అర్థమైంది, ఇదంతా హిస్టరీ మాత్రమే. నౌ we will go ahead with the actual topic. So how is starch detected? Starch is detected by the use of iodine reagent. So how the leaf which you want to test for starch, take that leaf, put it in methylated spirit in a test tube, and that you boil it in a hot water bath. So all the green color chlorophyll pigment will dissolve in that spirit and the leaf will become pale yellow color. Now you can detect it for starch by using iodine reagent. If there is starch, the leaf turns blue, or else it will remain pale yellow color. ఇంకా ఆ తర్వాత we also discussed in the class about the experiments to prove carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis, light is necessary for photosynthesis. అలా carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis అనుకోండి, KOH solution experiment. Take a plant having broad narrow leaves, put it in dark for 3 to 4 days so that the leaves will lose the starch, it will be destarched. Then select one leaf and insert one half of the leaf into a wide mouth bottle which contains KOH solution and close the mouth of the bottle with a cork. And now take very much care that the leaf will not touch the KOH solution. Now put this entire apparatus in the bright sun for about 3 to 4 hours. And then after 3 to 4 hours, what happens is you can remove the bottle, take out the leaf, and then you can do the starch test. So the part of the leaf which is outside the bottle will turn yellow color, blue color, and which is inside the bottle will remain pale yellow color. So this shows that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. And next, coming to experiment to show that light is necessary for photosynthesis. So light is necessary for photosynthesis. Take the same plant which has having long, broad, narrow leaves, put it in dark for 3 to 4 days, and make the plant lose all the starch. And then you can take the plant and cover the leaf with a paper screen, a black paper screen which has some cut portion. So and then you can keep that plant in the bright sunlight for 3 to 4 hours. So the part of the leaf which is exposed to the light, that will, and you can, after 3 to 4 hours, you take out the leaf, take out the paper screen and perform starch test. So the part of the leaf which is exposed to sunlight, that will turn blue black color, and which is covered with that paper screen will remain pale yellow. Okay, this is what I discussed. See, up till here నేను ఆల్రెడీ క్లాస్లో చెప్పాను కాబట్టి నేను కొంచెం ఫాస్ట్గా వెళ్ళాను. నౌ ఇప్పటి నుంచి మీరు చెప్పి నేను క్లాస్లో చెప్పండి నేను స్టార్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఫ్రమ్ నౌ whatever I didn't start in the class, I'm going to discuss now. See, first is about the transfer section of the leaf. ఇది very very important diagram, జాగ్రత్త వినండి. How to draw the transfer section of leaf. Transfer section of leaf ఎలా డ్రా చేయాలో జాగ్రత్త చూడండి. Like this. This is the upper epidermis, because the plant has a single layer of cells. ఇది ఖచ్చితంగా వచ్చే క్వశ్చన్, వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ క్వశ్చన్. డయాగ్రామ్ ఎలా డ్రా చేయాలో చూడండి, బోర్డ్ ఎగ్జామ్లో కూడా ఇంపార్టెంట్. సో దిస్ వన్ సింగిల్ layer of cells on the upper surface, and this is another layer of living cells found on the lower surface. One single layer, a single layer of cells found on upper surface and lower surface of the leaf. This is called as upper epidermis. This is called as upper epidermis, and this is called as lower epidermis. Both upper and lower epidermis are covered by a thin, transparent, waxy coating that is called as cuticle. This is the upper cuticle found on the upper epidermis. It prevents excess loss of water during transpiration. అంటే బాగా ఎండ ఎక్కువైనప్పుడు ఎక్కువ వాటర్ బయటకు లాస్ కాకుండా ఒక బ్లాంకెట్ లాగా దీన్ని కప్పుతుంది. దిస్ క్యూటికల్, ఇట్స్ waxy layer, transparent waxy layer which covers the upper and lower surface of the leaf and prevents excess loss of water by transpiration. So upper epidermis upper cuticle, lower epidermis lower cuticle. అయితే in this lower epidermis, there are some openings. In this lower epidermis there are some openings. These openings are called as stomata, and each stomata is guarded on either sides by a pair of kidney shaped cells called guard cells. Here also you have a pair of kidney shaped cells called guard cells. Okay, they are called as guard cells. Guard cells. Now remember, this entire epidermis does not have chloroplast. Only the guard cells will have chloroplast. So guard cells are the only cells which have, so one second, this is leaking. Guard cells are the only cells which have chloroplast. అయితే ఈ క్లోరోప్లాస్ట్ ఎప్పుడు కూడా బౌండరీ దగ్గర చూపించాలి, ఇలా, like this, like this. So chloroplasts are always found at the boundary. గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, ఎప్పుడు కూడా ఏ సెల్లో అయినా ఎనీ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద ప్లాంట్ విచ్ ఇస్ గ్రీన్, ఇట్ ఈస్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ఎనీ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద ప్లాంట్ విచ్ ఇస్ గ్రీన్, ఇట్ ఈస్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ క్లోరోప్లాస్ట్. అయితే యూ టేక్ ఎనీ ప్లాంట్ సెల్, ఇది ఒక ప్లాంట్ సెల్, ఇది సెల్ వాల్ అండ్ ఇన్సైడ్ ఇది సెల్ మెంబ్రెయిన్, ఇది న్యూక్లియస్. ఆల్వేస్ క్లోరోప్లాస్ట్ ఆర్ ఫౌండ్ ఎట్ ద బౌండరీ, ఇట్లా బౌండరీ దగ్గర ఉంటాయి, బౌండరీ దగ్గర ఉంటాయి, లోపల ఉండవు. ఎందుకంటే బౌండరీ దగ్గర ఉంటే అవి ఈజీగా కార్బన్ డైఆక్సైడ్ తీసుకోవచ్చు, బయటికి ఆక్సిజన్ ఈజీగా ఇచ్చేయచ్చు. ఒకవేళ if the chloroplasts are found deep seated inside the chloroplast, inside the cytoplasm, it's very difficult for this carbon dioxide to go up till there. So always remember, chloroplasts are always found just below the cell membrane, just below the membrane. Okay, just below the cell membrane, so that the chloroplast can easily pick up carbon dioxide and easily give out oxygen gas. So whenever you draw chloroplasts inside a cell, show the chloroplast at the boundary of the cell, at the boundary of the cell. So this is about the entire epidermis. So upper epidermis, lower epidermis, stomata, guard cells. So the only cells in the epidermis which have chloroplasts are the guard cells. The opening between the guard cells is called stomata. Now coming to the most important structure, the middle part. This middle part of the leaf is called as parenchyma. It's called parenchyma. In this parenchyma, you have two types, the upper parenchyma and the lower parenchyma. In the upper parenchyma is also called as upper palisade parenchyma. Palisade meaning there are vertical cells like this, they are tall cells. So this is one cell, this is one cell. These are all palisade parenchyma. Like this. So in this upper palisade parenchyma, the cells are arranged in tall vertical columns like this. And in the lower parenchyma, cells are arranged irregularly like this, irregularly. There are large intercellular spaces. But remember, show the space above the stomata a bit larger. Above the stomata, show the spaces a bit larger like this. Like this. Okay, So this upper part is called as palisade parenchyma. Palisade parenchyma, and the lower part is called spongy parenchyma. In the upper palisade parenchyma, you have narrow intercellular spaces, just like this. If these fingers are the palisade parenchyma cells, between this you have this narrow vertical slits, vertical spaces. These are called as narrow intercellular spaces. But if you look at the lower spongy parenchyma, you have these large gaps in between, just like the holes in a sponge. Okay, when you see this sponge under microscope, you can see a lot of holes, lot of pores, lot of openings, air-filled spaces. Similarly, such air-filled spaces are found here also. That's called spongy parenchyma. In fact, it gives protection to the leaf. When the sudden jerk, sudden blow, sudden movement to the leaf, the spongy parenchyma will act like a cushion. It will act like a shock absorber, like a spongy parenchyma. Okay, but remember, this palisade parenchyma, spongy parenchyma, both have chloroplasts. Both have chloroplasts. And again, as I told you, whenever you want to show chloroplasts, show it at the boundary like this. I don't want to waste time in drawing the chloroplast of all cells. I'm drawing in one palisade parenchyma cell, and also I'll draw in one spongy parenchyma cell like this. It's found everywhere. Everywhere it's found like this. Okay. So a leaf is appearing green color because of this parenchyma cells only. But remember, very important, in the upper palisade parenchyma cell, each cell has about uh, 40 to 60 chloroplasts, and in the lower spongy parenchyma, each cell has about in the upper palisade parenchyma, there are 60 to 80, and in the lower spongy parenchyma, there are 40 to 60 chloroplasts in each cell. In each cell, in the upper palisade parenchyma, there are 60 to 80 chloroplasts, and in the lower spongy parenchyma, each cell has 40 to 60 chloroplasts. Why there are more chloroplasts in the upper palisade parenchyma? Because the upper surface receives more sunlight. The upper surface receives more sunlight. So since it receives more sunlight, the upper palisade parenchyma has the capability of performing more photosynthesis. That's why it's provided with more number of chloroplasts. That's why if you look at a leaf, the upper surface of the leaf will be dark green and the lower surface will be light green. That's just because there are more number of chloroplasts per cell in the palisade parenchyma and less number of chloroplasts per cell in the spongy parenchyma. So that's why the upper surface is dark green and lower surface is light green. And one more important thing, these stomata are not found on the upper epidermis. They're always found on the lower epidermis. Why they're not found on the upper epidermis? If there are openings on the top, the sunlight can get inside. The sunlight can get inside and damage these chloroplasts. So that's why stomata are always found on the lower epidermis. Now, coming to the vascular tissues. Vascular tissues. There are two kinds of vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. But this xylem and phloem, they are packed in a circular layer of cells. Circular layer of cells. That circular layer is called as bundle sheath, like this. Okay, this is called as bundle sheath. It packs the xylem and phloem, and you have on the upper side xylem and the lower side you have phloem. Xylem, you can just show it with a thick cell wall like this, thick cell wall, because xylem conducts water, and when it's conducting water, it should be waterproof. Whereas the lower, so this is upper xylem, and this is the lower phloem. So the lower phloem has thin cell walls like this, thin cell wall. So remember, when you show xylem and phloem, xylem is on the top, phloem is on the bottom. And xylem conducts water, phloem conducts food. అయితే why the xylem has thick cell wall? Because the xylem vessels, they conduct water, and there may be a chance of water being leaking out, so it should be waterproof. For that, the cell walls are very thick. So very important difference, I mean, structure wise, the most important difference in xylem and phloem is xylem has thick cell walls, phloem has thin cell walls. Okay, xylem has thick cell walls, phloem has thin cell walls. This is the TS of leaf. You have three structures here: the epidermis, the parenchyma, and the vascular bundle. When you show epidermis, upper lower cuticle, stomata, guard cell. And when you talk about parenchyma, two kinds of parenchyma: upper palisade parenchyma and lower spongy parenchyma. Upper palisade parenchyma cells are vertical arranged in columns with narrow intercellular spaces, whereas in the lower spongy parenchyma, cells are irregularly arranged with large intercellular spaces. And one more thing, the upper palisade parenchyma are provided with more number of chloroplasts because their main job and only one single job is to perform maximum photosynthesis. Whereas the lower spongy parenchyma, they perform photosynthesis, but they also help in gaseous exchange, aeration, protection, like shock absorber from jerks, all these things. And third thing is about vascular bundle. The vascular bundles are packed in a circular layer of cells called the bundle sheath, and which encloses two kinds of vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. Xylem is on the upper side and phloem is on the lower side. Xylem has thick cell wall, phloem has thin cell wall. Okay, this is the TS of leaf, very important diagram. Is that okay? Now I'm going to discuss the TS of chloroplasts. ఇప్పుడు చూస్తే కామెంట్స్ వీళ్ళు ఏమేమి కామెంట్స్ రాస్తున్నారు రా నాయన. ఎందుకురా స్మైలీస్ అవన్నీ పిచ్చి పిచ్చి కామెంట్స్? ప్లీజ్ కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ ఆన్ దిస్ లెసన్. పేర్లు ఇద్దామంటే ఏందో పిచ్చి పిచ్చి పేర్లు పెట్టుకున్నారు. Now coming to the transverse section of 6:30, అప్పుడే 6:30. Okay, next TS of chloroplast. You know, chloroplast is the structure where photosynthesis occurs, and the chloroplast structure, it has a outer membrane and inner membrane. So this is the outer membrane and this is the inner membrane, and inside there is a colorless watery fluid which is rich in enzymes, that is called as stroma. You know, chloroplast is green, but the outer membrane is transparent, inner membrane is transparent, stroma is also colorless. Then what gives it its green color? That is because of the grana. Here you have one grana, here this is another grana, this is another grana, and this is another grana. Grana is plural, granum singular. Each grana has 9 to 10 granum. Each grana has 9 to 10 granum. So I call this as grana and the individual ones as granum, and the membrane of this grana is called grana thylakoid. Grana thylakoid. And the membranes which connect one grana with other grana like this, these are called stroma thylakoids. Okay, they are called as stroma thylakoids. That's it, a very simple structure of chloroplast. So remember, it has an outer membrane, inner membrane, and inside there is a colorless enzyme rich fluid called stroma, and in this stroma you have green structures called grana. Every grana is piled up with 9 to 10 granum. The membrane of grana is called grana thylakoid, and the membranes which connect one grana and another grana called stroma thylakoid. అయితే ఒకటి వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్, నేను ఎరేస్ చేసే ముందు I want to talk about photosynthesis, but again I'll come back that later. You know, photosynthesis occurs in two steps, light phase, dark phase. ఇది చాలా జాగ్రత్తగా వినండి. Photosynthesis occurs in two steps, light phase, dark phase. The light phase occurs in this stroma thylakoid. దీంట్లో light phase జరుగుతుంది. In this stroma thylakoid you have the light phase. In this, light phase will occur. Okay, and where does dark phase occur? Dark phase occurs in this stroma. Here dark phase will occur. We know that photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplast, but in that photosynthesis, light phase occurs in stroma thylakoids, dark phase occurs in stroma. Keep this in mind. Okay, so or let it be like that. I'll just talk about light phase, dark phase because I don't want to erase. I'll come to the mechanism of photosynthesis, very, very important. Now, coming to the mechanism of photosynthesis, listen very carefully. Mechanism of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis occurs in two phases. One is the light, one is the light dependent reaction, or which is simply called as light reaction, and the other is a light independent reaction. Light independent reaction. Photosynthesis occurs in two steps or two phases: light dependent reaction, light independent reaction. Light dependent reaction, light dependent reaction, it is also called as photochemical phase. It is also called as photochemical phase. And dark this this is also called as dark reaction. Dark reaction, this is also called as light reaction. Light dependent reaction or light reaction, light independent reaction or dark reaction. But there's another name. It's also called as photochemical phase. It's also called as a biochemical phase. It was discovered by Robert Hill. Hence, it is also called as a Hill reaction. Hill reaction. And this was discovered by Melvin Calvin, for which he was awarded Nobel Prize. Hence, it's also called as a Calvin cycle. And where does it occur? That's very important. Where does it occur? I already told you. Light reaction, it occurs in this stroma thylakoids. It occurs in stroma thylakoid. But where does dark reaction occur? I already told you. Where does it occur? Yes, it occurs in this stroma, in this fluid. It occurs in stroma. Now, what are the requirements for light reaction? What are the requirements? What are the requirements for light reaction? Definitely, it requires sunlight. That's very important. Sunlight is required, and it requires chlorophyll pigment. That's already there, and it also requires water. These three are the requirements for light phase: sunlight, chlorophyll, and water. Sunlight, chlorophyll, and water. Sunlight is anyhow available from outside. Sunlight is always available from outside. And chlorophyll, it's already there in this membranes. You have chlorophylls. That's also there. And where is water? Water is actually flowing here in this. In this, there is water flowing. Imagine as if there are some pipes in which water flows. Everything is there. So sunlight from outside, chlorophyll already in the membrane, and inside there is water. So sunlight, chlorophyll, water. Using these three, light phase, what does it make? What does it make? What are the end products? This is important. It makes ATP, adenosine triphosphate, NADPH, and also oxygen. This oxygen which is formed in light phase is completely released out. So in our equation, in the photosynthesis equation, we write 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6O2. That 6O2 what you write in the reaction, in the photosynthesis, actually comes from the light reaction. Oxygen released during photosynthesis actually comes from the light reaction. So this is completely sent out. It's not required. But what are the requirements for dark phase? Please listen very, 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 very carefully. The products formed in light reaction, which is the ATP and NADPH, they are used here. They are used here in the dark reaction. Same thing. The ATP formed here and also the NADPH are used in the dark reaction along with CO2 from outside. So CO2 from outside goes into the stroma. So please remember these thylakoid membranes. Let us show me here. This thylakoid membrane will be manufacturing ATP. It will be manufacturing NADPH, and also it will be making O2, but that O2 will go outside. In return, now this ATP, NADPH, they'll stay in the stroma. They take the carbon dioxide. and make the end product glucose. So there is one important textbook question. What is that question? What is the link between light phase and dark phase? The link between light phase and dark phase is ATP NADPH, because uh, the ATP NADPH formed in light phase are thrown into the stroma and used in dark phase. ATP and ADPH formed in light phase are used in dark phase. So the link between light phase and dark phase are ATP and ADPH. No formula is not required. Just remember the name: ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and NADPH, nicotinamide, adenine, dinucleotide, phosphate, hydrogen. You'll take 2 days to learn that name, but remember it as NADPH. So requirements and products. Is this clear? So, but one important thing, light reaction will occur strictly in the presence of light. That's also one difference I have to write here. I forgot. I'll write here then. Light reaction, it will strictly occur in the presence of light, strictly in light. But dark reaction can occur in the presence of light and also absence of light. Presence and absence of light. It is light independent. So remember, light reaction occurs only in the presence of light, only during daytime, only when there is light. But dark reaction can occur when there is light or when there is no light. It can occur during daytime and also it can occur during night time. What it requires is only ATP and ADPH. If ATP and ADPH are available in the daytime also it will occur this dark phase. So dark phase doesn't mean that it occurs in the dark. This is very, very important. It just means that it is light independent. It can occur both in the presence and absence of light. But sometimes they might ask you a question like this: draw the flow chart which shows light reaction and dark reaction. So for that, see, you can take a screenshot or you can note down some points. For example, now what I'm going to say: draw the flow chart of light reaction, dark reaction. How will you write? See, show it like this. This is the light reaction and this is the dark reaction. Light reaction and dark reaction. So during light reaction, what happens is, first the chlorophyll molecule, it becomes excited. This is original chlorophyll molecule, this is excited chlorophyll molecule. Ante like this, if this is the chlorophyll molecule and this is the last valence electron, when it this absorbs energy. Okay, this will absorb light energy. So when this will absorb light energy, what happens is this electron jumps to an higher state. So it goes to an higher state, higher energy. It gets excited. So just write like this: chlorophyll and chlorophyll star. Chlorophyll is electron in ground state and chlorophyll is the electron, the valence electron is in excited state. Okay, that is one step. The second step, water also absorbs light energy. Water also absorbs energy. What energy? It absorbs light energy. And not only light energy, also in the presence of this chlorophyll molecule, in the presence of light energy and in the presence of this excited chlorophyll molecule, this water molecule will split into hydrogens, electrons and oxygen. This oxygen, it goes out. What happens to these hydrogens? These hydrogens are accepted by one molecule called NADP. So NADP, it takes these hydrogens and forms NADPH. This is important. And also in this process, ATP is also formed. Don't ask me how it is formed. That's a big process. Just remember that ATP is also formed. So what is happening in light phase? Chlorophyll is becoming chlorophyll star, means it's getting energetic, and water by absorbing light energy. Water is also absorbing light energy, and also in the presence of this chlorophyll molecule, it will split. This is called photolysis of water. This is called photolysis of water. Photo means light. Lysis means breakdown of water. So, okay. So, what is photolysis of water? Splitting of water molecule into hydrogens, electrons, and water in the presence of light. It's called as photolysis of water. That is, it occurs in the light reaction. So here water is undergoing photolysis and you get hydrogens, electrons, and oxygen. Oxygen will go outside. These hydrogens are accepted by NADP to form NADPH. Now what happens in dark phase? The carbon dioxide molecule will come into the stroma. The carbon dioxide molecule will come into the stroma. After coming into stroma, this NADPH will break into NADP plus hydrogens. These hydrogens are accepted by this carbon dioxide, and also in the presence of this ATP, you will get glucose, C6H12O6. This is the flow chart. This is the flow chart. Okay, so what is happening here? The water is splitting to give hydrogen, electrons, oxygens. Oxygens will go out. Hydrogen is taken by NADP to form NADPH. Now this NADPH will come into the stroma and again break into NADP plus H plus. These hydrogens now will combine with carbon dioxide by using ATP to form glucose. Is this clear or is it confusing? Is it clear or is it confusing? Tell me in the chat comments. Is it clear, everyone? Okay, no reply. So this is about the photosynthesis. Now in this we should all, there is one important plant called Cuscuta plant. What is Cuscuta plant? Cuscuta plant is a parasitic plant. How ATP is formed on Adakandi? That's a long process. Okay, some people are asking, explain the last step. See, I'll just write once again. I'm showing in a bigger view. See, what happens is I'm dividing this into light reaction and dark reaction. In light reaction, chlorophyll molecule will take light energy and become chlorophyll star, means excited chlorophyll molecule. And also water also will take light energy and break into hydrogens, electrons plus oxygen. This oxygen is released out. And this hydrogens, what happens? It is accepted by NADP to form NADPH. And here ATP is also formed. But don't ask me how. ATP is also formed in light reaction. Now that ATP will come into stroma. The NADPH also will come into stroma, because in the stroma in a dark phase will occur. So both will come into stroma. But this NADPH will break into NADP plus hydrogens. Into hydrogens. Okay. Now the carbon dioxide molecule will use this hydrogens. Okay. It will use these hydrogens and form glucose, C6H12O6. And also it will use ATP also. This is dark reaction. That's it. So like this is the light phase and dark phase. You can take a photo, you can take a screenshot, or I'll erase it then. In textbook lo important question on the draw the draw the flow chart showing the light reaction and dark reaction. Now coming to one important nutrition called parasitic nutrition, which is in Cuscuta plant. Cuscuta is a parasitic plant. It does not have chlorophyll. It does not have leaves. As it germinates from the soil, it starts twining around the support. It coils around the support. And after coiling around the supporter, this Cuscuta plant, it will penetrate the stem of the host plant. Then the penetrating structures are called as hostoria. So I'll show you how it happens. Let us think this is the host plant and this is the stem. And somewhere On the ground here, the Cuscuta plant is growing like a thread, just like a thread, like a yellow color thread. It does not have any leaf, no chloroplast, nothing, just like a golden yellow color. That is Cuscuta. It's also called as dodder plant. So it grows like this, and it keeps waving in the air. It keeps on moving with the wind. When the wind blows, it keeps on moving here and there. But whenever it touches a support, it will immediately coil around the support like this. It will coil around the support. It will twine around the support. It's not support, around the host plant. After coiling around the stem of the host plant, this Cuscuta, it produces some penetrating structures into the host. It produces some structures. These structures are called as hostoria. Hostoria. What this hostoria do? They go deep into the stem up till the xylem and also up to the phloem also, because in the middle you have xylem and outside you have phloem. So they go up till the xylem taking water and also phloem to take the food material. So it's a complete parasite. What are hostoria? Hostoria are the penetrating structures produced by the parasitic plant into the stem of the host plant. And this hostoria, they'll penetrate up till the xylem taking water and also into the phloem taking the nutrients. So both water and nutrients completely, they depend upon this host plant. That's about Cuscuta. It's a leafless, no chlorophyll, completely depends upon the host plant for both water and nutrients, because the hostoria, the penetrating structures, they go up till xylem taking the water and phloem taking the food material, nutrients. That is about this complete nutrition in plants. Okay, that's about photosynthesis. Now we'll finish off with the human digestive system. Human digestive system. Now, the important diagram. I will ask you. Oh, okay. Someone is saying you missed about amoeba. Yeah, amoeba is a single-celled animal. It consumes food by a simple method which is called phagocytosis. Phagocytosis. What happens in phagocytosis? Let's think this is an amoeba. This is a nucleus. Amoeba has no shape, irregular. You can draw in any way. But it has some finger-like projections. These are called as pseudopodia. They're called as pseudopodia. Whenever it finds any food, which can be some algae or some fungi or some dead and decaying waste material or some weeds or some organic material, anything, what happens is slowly it will produce pseudopodia around it like this. It will produce pseudopodia like this, finger like foldings, without touching that prey, without touching that food. It will slowly spread like that, and the pseudopodia will still extend like this around that food. And finally, the pseudopodia on either side, they will stick like this. And finally, the food will be trapped in a vacuole. That is called as food vacuole. Food vacuole. And now this enzyme, this amoeba will release some enzymes into this. The cytoplasm only will release some enzymes, some digestive enzymes, which will digest this food, break that food into simpler molecules, simple glucose molecules. And after that, that digested food will be absorbed directly into the cytoplasm by diffusion. Simple enzymes come, they digest the food, and the digested food will be absorbed into cytoplasm. And if any undigested food is left, that will remain in the food vacuole. The food vacuole will be pushed to one corner, and finally, let us say this is the waste material. The food vacuole will come to the boundary, and it will join with the boundary like this, and it will dispose it outside. And soon that part is soon repaired again. That's it, like that. So it's very simple. It spreads pseudopodia around that food and finally captures the food in a vacuole, which is called food vacuole. And then the amoeba will release enzymes in the food vacuole and digest it. And after digesting, that it is absorbed into cytoplasm. Any undigested food left in that food vacuole will come to one corner of that amoeba, and it will burst at the boundary, at the membrane of that amoeba, and dispose all that undigested waste into the surrounding water. So a simple, that is called phagocytosis. Now, coming to the human digestive system, the big one, but it's very simple. I'll just be straight to the point. Now, first let me draw the diagram. Look at it carefully. This is your nose, your mouth, like this. Okay, there's a face. And now, this is the food pipe, or also called as esophagus. Okay, this is the mouth, and here you have the salivary glands, and this is the food pipe, and the food pipe continues into a stomach, into the stomach. The diagram is important. Into stomach, and the stomach will continue into the small intestine, and the small intestine will again coil like this, like this. I am showing like this. So this is the coiled part, and finally like this, and that will join into large intestine. This is the stomach, small intestine, and the small intestine joins with the large intestine. At the end of this large intestine, you have a small tube-like structure that's called the appendix. We'll discuss more detail about this digestive system in we have a separate digestive system chapter, but what is there in this chapter we will discuss now here. So this is the large intestine. Like this. This is the large intestine. Like this. Okay. Now, so what is this? This is the food pipe, or it's also called as esophagus. You know, all this you have been learning since 6th class. This is the stomach, and this is the small intestine, and this is the large intestine. Large intestine, and this is the anus. Okay, now where is the liver? Liver, you find it on the right side. It was called, this is right side. So you have a liver here, and the liver gives the bile duct, two ducts, left hepatic duct, right hepatic duct. They both will join with cystic duct. At the end of cystic duct, you have gallbladder, and then you have the liver giving one more duct, and this is the pancreatic duct, and this is the pancreas that will open into the duodenum, like this. Okay, so this is liver, this is gallbladder, and this is pancreas. So these are the parts of the digestive system. So we want to show this is the small intestine. Small intestine. In this diagram, we'll come across different concepts now. First, why we should learn the digestive system diagram? You have to learn because they may ask in the exam. Draw the diagram of human digestive system. Simple draw chal. Now we'll come fastly one by one parts. First, mouth. Mouth, it is the external opening through which food is taken inside. And inside you have the oral cavity in which the salivary glands will release saliva, in which the salivary glands will release saliva, and that will mix with the food. And in that mixing process, the teeth and the tongue, they will also help in chewing the food, mixing the food. The tongue pushes the food onto the teeth for chewing, and the teeth will finally nicely grind the food. And this saliva, it has one important enzyme. So I'm writing all the enzymes in blue separately. Saliva has an enzyme which is called amylase. And what will amylase do? Amylase will break carbohydrates, or it will break starch into glucose. That's in the saliva. So the digestion begins in the mouth. Mechanical digestion because it's grinded, and chemical digestion because the saliva contains amylase. Amylase breaks starch into glucose molecules. Then the food is partially, the complete food is not digested. A little of the glucose, a little of the starch is digested, but there are proteins which are not digested, carbohydrates which are not digested, fats which are not digested. All that semi-digested food now will come into this food in the form of a round ball-like structure that's called as food bolus. This is called as food bolus. It is a round pipe, round ball-like structure, because when you swallow the food, the tongue pushes the food back into the food pipe. So the food will get converted into a round ball-like structure, and it's dropped into the food pipe. Once coming into the food pipe, the food pipe shows some peristaltic movements with which the food is pushed down. What are peristaltic movements? See, I'll show you something. See, imagine this is the food pipe. This is a food pipe. Actually, there is one round ball. This is the. Can you see here? This is the football. Let us think this round one is the footballers. Okay, the footballers is dropped into foot pipe like this. After dropping here, it will press here, so it will come down like this. Again, it will press here, it will come down. Again, it will press here, it will come down. It will press here, it will come down. So like this, there are some series of wave-like contractions which will push the footballers down. Okay, so there's nothing which I can show you here. But remember, this is the foot pipe. When the footballers drops into the foot pipe, the it presses here. Okay, it presses here so that the footballers comes down. After coming here, this will relax and it will contract here. Then the footballers comes down. Again, this will relax and it will contract here. So footballers comes down. Again, this will relax and it will contract, it will press here. Footballers will come down. It will contract like this. So not only one footballer, sometimes some people will be eating fastly. So more than one footballers. Before this footballers comes into stomach, there may be one more footballers coming, one more footballers coming. There may be multiple footballers also. That causes a continuous series of wave-like contractions, which may cause hiccups also. So we should not eat like that. You have to eat slowly. So these are called as peristalsis. Very important. Peristalsis. So what is meant by peristalsis? Peristalsis meaning it is a series of wave-like contractions which push the footballers from the foot pipe down until the stomach, until into the stomach. Those are called peristalsis. Is it clear? So what is peristaltic movements or peristalsis? It is a series of wave-like contractions which push the footballers from the foot pipe down into the stomach. That is peristalsis. But sometimes reverse peristalsis may happen. That is called vomiting. Reverse peristalsis. Reverse peristal technical name, but it is commonly called as vomiting. Reverse peristal means these contractions may proceed from stomach to the mouth. Normal peristalsis, the contractions show from mouth to stomach. But sometimes in reverse peristalsis, commonly called vomiting, the contractions may move from the stomach up until the mouth. In that case, the food in the stomach is forced to move up into the food pipe and then forced to be pushed up and forced to be expelled out from the mouth. This is called vomiting. It generally happens when there is any food poisoning, or sometimes when they eat too much fat rich food, because eating too much fat rich foods, it will not digest. Some people, they eat a lot of cakes, a lot of ice creams. What happens when you eat too much of cakes and ice creams? There will be indigestion. That oily cake cream, it will not be digested so fastly, and that may cause vomiting. So the liver cannot tolerate so much of fat, it cannot digest so much of fat. That is one reason. Or sometimes there may be a food poisoning also. Or sometimes there may be some food allergy. Some people may not like that particular food, but they're forced to eat. Then the stomach cannot accept it, it will throw it out of the mouth. That is called as a reverse peristalsis, like that. But sometimes, during vomiting, there may be some a bitter taste in the mouth. That is because in the stomach, the liver bile juice also will come along with the food back into the mouth, and bile juice is bitter because it's basic in nature, it's alkaline in nature. So that is peristalsis and reverse peristalsis. Now the food has finally come into the stomach. It has finally reached the stomach. In the stomach will release one digestive juice which is called as gastric juice. Okay, in the stomach there is one digestive juice released by the stomach, it's called as gastric juice. And this gastric juice contains pepsin, which breaks proteins. It contains HCl also. So why stomach releases HCl? Because this HCl will maintain the acidic atmosphere in the stomach. When there's an acidic atmosphere, any acid sensitive bacteria will not be alive, they'll be killed, because the food what you eat may contain some bacteria. So that bacteria is killed in the presence of this acidic atmosphere. That is the use of HCl. And what is pepsin? Pepsin, it breaks proteins. It breaks proteins into peptones. It breaks proteins into peptones. That is one use. Now that, but this food, in this stomach, what is happening? The the proteins are getting digested, and this partially digested food is called as chyme. Very very important. The partially digested food which is coming from the stomach is called as chyme. Chyme, chyme. What is chyme? It is a semi-solid, slippery fluid, which contains the partially digested proteins coming from the stomach into the small intestine. That is called as chyme. Very important. Okay. Now the chyme came into this duodenum. See, small intestine has three parts. The first is a C-shaped part, like this here. Here, the C-shaped part, that's called as a duodenum. Duodenum, and the very much coiled part, that is called the jejunum, and a very long part, that is ileum. See, generally, the small intestine is about it's the longest part of the entire digestive system is the small intestine. It is about 6.25 meters long. Okay, that is about 6.25 meters long, the longest part. But the large intestine is only 1.5 meters, 1.5 meter long. On the low, duodenum is 20 to 25 centimeters. The jejunum is about 2.5 meters, and the ileum is about 3.5 meters. So the longest part is again ileum. Jejunum is the very much coiled part. Ileum is a very long part where the food is absorbed. Okay, now this chyme, it came into the duodenum. When the chyme comes into the duodenum, immediately the liver will pour its bile juice and the pancreas will pour its pancreatic juice. What does this liver do? I said it produces bile juice, and this pancreas, it releases pancreatic juice into the chyme. So when the chyme comes from the stomach into the duodenum, the liver releases bile juice and pancreas releases pancreatic juice. What is the function of bile juice? Remember, bile juice does not contain any enzymes. Very very important. The only digestive gland which does not release any digestive enzymes, the only digestive gland which does not release any digestive enzymes is liver. Then what does it do? It releases bile juice, which helps in emulsification of fats. Emulsification. Emulsification of fats. Emulsification of fats meaning the fats will be broken into simpler molecules, small molecules, so that they can be easily digested in the stomach later. Okay, for example, when there is some oil to you have eaten a lot of biryani, and a lot of oil and fat to your hands. Will you wash it under water? Will the oily material on the hands be washed off with water? It doesn't go. You have to apply some soap, and then when you apply some soap, then the oil will be washed up. Here also, the bile juice will act like a soap on the oils and the fats which are found in the food. It breaks that fats into small molecules. You take a biscuit and you break the biscuit into small pieces. Just like that, this bile juice breaks large fat molecules into small molecules, so that they can be later be digested by the pancreatic juice. So emulsification means breaking large fats into small molecules, so that small molecules can now be completely digested by the enzymes in the pancreatic juice. That is called emulsification of fats. So bile juice helps in emulsification of fats. Okay, the fats are broken into small molecules. Now the pancreas will release pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice is a very important digestive gland, because it is a complete digestive gland. Pancreatic juice has enzymes to digest proteins. It has enzymes to digest starch, enzymes to digest carbohydrates, enzymes to digest fats. It can digest everything in the food. So pancreas is called as a complete digestive gland because it contains all the enzymes required to digest all the nutrients. Especially the fats which are broken into small molecules are broken down by enzymes found in the pancreas. I'm writing here. I think it's such a big line. But the pancreas, it contains enzymes called lipases. Lipases, it breaks fats. Okay, and it has trypsin. Trypsin breaks proteins, and it also has amylase. Amylase breaks carbohydrates. Okay, stomach contains one protein digesting enzyme, pepsin, and this contains trypsin. Pepsin, trypsin both break proteins, but pepsin is in the gastric juice, trypsin is in the pancreatic juice. So look at here, see, fats can be digested, proteins can be digested, carbohydrates can be digested because fat digesting enzymes, lipases are there, protein digesting enzymes, trypsin is there, carbohydrate digesting enzymes, amylase is there. So by the time the food comes out of this duodenum, almost the food is 99% completely it is digested. By the time the food comes out of the duodenum, it's almost digested. Okay, all the proteins, vitamins, fats, carbohydrates, everything is digested. Now the food comes into the jejunum. Okay, and then into ileum. What happens in jejunum and ileum? They will absorb the digested food because see there are so many enzymes and so much of hard work by this digestive system to digest the food, and now completely it has been digested. So now the digested food should be absorbed. That absorption will be in the ileum, the longest part, 3.5 meters long. So all the digested food is now nicely absorbed into the blood vessels, into the lymph vessels by some finger-like foldings. See, um, this ileum, it has some finger-like foldings on the inner wall. That's called as villi, like this. Let us think. This is ileum. I'm showing the small intestine. This is small intestine. The inner surface has some foldings like this, like this. See, for example, uh, see, let's think. This is the. It's so dirty, but just imagine this is the inside of the ileum, a small intestine. But this inside is made into some foldings like this. So it's like this. It's made into some foldings like this. This is one folding, and one more folding, and one more folding like this. It's made into some foldings like this. Okay, so it's thrown into some foldings. So what is the use? These foldings are called as villi. These foldings are called as villi or microvilli. What is the use of this microvilli? They increase the surface area of absorption. They increase the surface area of absorption. Say, for example, let us think the inside. This is small intestine, and if the inside is smooth like this without any foldings, the digested food what is going in will not be absorbed by the wall. But if it because there is not enough surface area, the surface area will not be sufficient. But if it is thrown into some foldings like this, it's made into some foldings like this. What happens? There is more surface area. There is more surface area. So when there is more surface area, the digested food can be absorbed easily. So only one important point: villi and microvilli are the inward finger-like projections of the inner wall of the small intestine, especially the ileum and jejunum. And the function of villi and microvilli is only one simple point: to increase the surface area, of the absorption of digested food. Okay, now all the food has been absorbed. All the digested food has been absorbed. Now, any undigested waste material left in the small intestine will now move from small intestine into large intestine. All this is a waste material, the undigested waste material, but with large amount of water. Large amount of water. So all the undigested waste material will move from small intestine into large intestine, but with a large amount of water. And as this waste moves forward, the water will be again reabsorbed. It will again be reabsorbed. The only function of large intestine is to absorb water, because water is always very important. It's always scarce in the body, and we cannot afford to lose so much of water in this undigested waste. So as this undigested waste moves in the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, and to anus, the water is gradually absorbed. So the undigested waste, when it was here, it's almost semi-solid. But as that semi-solid undigested waste, as it moves forward, this is also by peristalsis only. This is also by peristalsis. As it moves forward, the water is absorbed and gets hardened, like that. Okay. Some people, some people who don't, they may not get, they may not have regular bowel movements. Bowel movements are going for motions. Some people, they go once in 2 days or once in 3 days for motions, or they have a very difficult defecation. Excretion of undigested waste from the anus is called as defecation. Okay, they may be having a very difficult defecation, or they may go for stools at very less frequent intervals. That is called as constipation. We call that as constipation. What is constipation? Constipation means irregular bowel movements or difficult bowel movements. Generally, if they go once in 3 days, that is called as severe constipation. That may be due to different reasons. Main reason is lack of fiber and roughage in the food. That's why the food what you eat, it should have a lot of fiber, lot of roughage. Fiber is also called roughage, which is found in the skin of fruits and vegetables. You should have that roughage, because that roughage has two functions. Because there's an important question in the textbook: what is the function of roughage? Roughage has two functions. One function is it helps in smooth movement of the food throughout the alimentary canal. Smooth, slippery movement of the food throughout the alimentary canal. And the second thing is it avoids or it prevents constipation. They'll have easy bowel movements, so it avoids constipation. So remember, what are the two functions of roughage? One is it helps in smooth movement of the food throughout the alimentary canal, and second is it helps in it avoids constipation. That is one thing. Okay, is there anything what I missed? Now, coming to the last part is malnutrition. We'll finish it off in just 5 to 10 minutes. What is malnutrition? Mal meaning bad. We say malpractice, bad practices, or mal behavior, bad behavior, or malaria, mal area. The word malaria comes from mal area, meaning bad air, meaning polluted air with mosquitoes. Mal behavior, bad behavior. So similarly, here also malnutrition. We say mal viruses also, malware, bad viruses, bad softwares, or malwares. But similarly, malnutrition means it's a bad nutrition, meaning someone is asking, Raghuram, what is defecation? Defecation means excretion of the undigested waste from the anus is called defecation. Excretion of or unnecessary or undigested waste from the anus is called as defecation. Let's go ahead now. So malnutrition meaning it is the consuming of food not having the required nutrients in required quantity. అంటే న్యూట్రియన్స్ అంటే విటమిన్స్, ప్రోటీన్స్, కార్బోహైడ్రేట్స్, మినరల్స్, ఫైబర్, వాటర్, ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఉండాల్సిన క్వాంటిటీలో లేకపోతే మనం తినే ఫుడ్లో ఉండాల్సిన క్వాంటిటీ మరీ తక్కువైనా మాల్ న్యూట్రిషనే, మరీ ఎక్కువైనా కూడా మాల్ న్యూట్రిషనే. If the nutrients are too less, that's malnutrition. If the nutrients are too much more, like too much fats, that's also malnutrition. So all the nutrients should be at the correct required quantity. That's malnutrition, means consuming food not having the required nutrients in the required quantity. That is called as malnutrition. There are different kinds of malnutrition. The first one, we'll discuss different types of malnutrition. The first one is the protein malnutrition. It's due to the deficiency of proteins, if there are no proteins. And then the next is a protein calorie malnutrition. Protein calorie malnutrition. And the last is a calorie malnutrition. So protein malnutrition meaning taking food which does not have proteins. Some people, they don't consume good proteins, like good, they don't consume good fruits, vegetables, or they don't eat all types of vegetables. They always eat rice, 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 and rice. What does rice contain? Rice contains only starch, only carbohydrates. They fill their belly only with rice and pickle, or rice and blank rice, not like that they eat. They don't eat a variety of vegetables, variety of fruits, so they don't get proteins. That is protein malnutrition. One example for protein malnutrition is kwashiorkor. 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 So what is protein malnutrition? It is the consuming of food not having the required quantity of proteins. Example, kwashiorkor. And what is protein calorie malnutrition? Not having proteins and also carbohydrates. Calories meaning carbohydrates or fats. Okay, not having proteins and also carbohydrates or fats. That is called as protein calorie malnutrition. For this, the example is marasmus. Marasmus. And calorie malnutrition means sometimes the people, they consume too much of calories, over intake of fats. That example, best example, it is obesity. Obesity. So once again, what is protein malnutrition? Consuming food not having required quantity of proteins. And what is protein calorie malnutrition? Consuming food not having both proteins and calories. Here, consuming too much calories. Now, what are the symptoms of kwashiorkor marasmus? I'll tell you a nice trick to remember. There are three common symptoms for both kwashiorkor and marasmus. What are the three common symptoms? Very weak muscles. The muscles are very poorly developed. Weak muscles. And the skin becomes very dry. Dry skin. And they have a diarrhea. Diarrhea meaning watery motions, loose motions, watery motions is called diarrhea. These are three common symptoms for both. But exclusively along with these three, there are two more symptoms for kwashiorkor, and along with these three, there are two more symptoms for marasmus. What are the two more symptoms of kwashiorkor? The person's face and the body will become bulged, becomes fluffy because of accumulation of water in intercellular spaces. So the body parts will swell. Okay, body and face will swell because large amount of water gets accumulated in the face and in the body, so it will swell. And also they have difficulty in eating. They have difficulty in eating. And what about this here? The person will be very thin, lean, and weak. And also he will have a dry hair, very dry hair. So these are the symptoms. So if they ask you what are the symptoms of kwashiorkor, you should write weak muscles, dry skin, diarrhea, along with body parts along with the face will become swollen and fluffy like a moon shaped because of large accumulation of intercellular water in intercellular spaces, and also difficulty in eating. Symptoms of marasmus: weak muscles, dry skin, diarrhea, and they will be very thin, very lean, very weak. You can even count the ribs also, you can see the bones also, they're very thin, very weak, and also very dry hair. That is the symptoms of marasmus. And obesity, they're overweight. They overweight and because they take too much of calories. They consume a lot of junk food, lot of calorie rich food, but don't do the proportionate amount of work. If they consume too much of calories and don't do any sufficient work, then how will the calories be burnt? They'll be converted to fat and stored everywhere in the body, in the blood, on the organs, in the skeletons, on the bones, everywhere it will be stored, causing a lot of problems. In children, it may cause cardiovascular problems, gallbladder problems, renal problems. Sometimes too much of fat, it gets accumulated in the gallbladder as gallstones. Gallstones meaning not the stones what you see. Gallstones are large fat molecules stuck up in the cystic duct or gallbladder somewhere, or they may block the blood vessels, the cardiovascular problems, and also they may block the nephrons or the kidney, causing renal problems. All this in children. So that is about obesity. Now, how do you prevent all these problems? How do you prevent? By consuming the required amount of nutrients in the required quantity. Too much less or too much more is also bad. And now coming to the last part about vitamins. The last part is about vitamins. Vitamins are required to our body in very small quantity. Vitamins vitamins are called as micronutrients because they are required to our body in very small quantity. స్మాల్ క్వాంటిటీలోనే తీసుకోవాలి. ప్రోటీన్స్, కార్బోహైడ్రేట్స్, ఫ్యాట్స్, మినరల్స్, వాటర్, ఫైబర్, అన్ని న్యూట్రియంట్స్ కంటే ద న్యూట్రియంట్ విచ్ ఇస్ టు బి టేకెన్ వెరీ స్మాల్ క్వాంటిటీస్ విటమిన్స్ మైక్రోగ్రామ్స్లోనే రోజుకి ఒక 0.1 0.2 మైక్రోగ్రామ్స్ ఆఫ్ విటమిన్ ఏ అట్లా తీసుకోవాలి. ఇన్ వెరీ స్మాల్ క్వాంటిటీ దే హ్యావ్ టు బి టేకెన్. దట్స్ వై కాల్స్ మైక్రోన్యూట్రియంట్స్. దే రిక్వైర్డ్ టు they require to our body in very small quantity. And one more thing is they are called as essential nutrients. Essential nutrients means our body cannot make these nutrients. Our body cannot make these nutrients because fats our body can make, carbohydrates our body can make, proteins our body can make, but our body cannot make new vitamins. That's what they call essential nutrients. That means they should be an essential part of our diet. They should be an essential part of our food which we eat daily, because they cannot be made in our body. So that should be an essential part of our food. That's about vitamins. And these vitamins they are of two types. There are two types of vitamins. This is important, all of you please listen carefully. Vitamins are two types. One is water soluble vitamins, and the other is fat soluble vitamins. Water soluble vitamins are those which can be dissolved in water, and fat soluble vitamins means which can be dissolved in fats. And what are the examples? Water soluble vitamins includes all the B complex, and also, or I'll wait, this vitamin B1, B2, B3, B6, B12, folic acid, pantothenic acid, biotin. These all are called as B complex. All these vitamins are together called as B complex. B1, B2, B3, B6, B12, folic acid, pantothenic acid, biotin. All these are called as B complex. Along with this B complex, even vitamin C is also a water soluble vitamin. Now, what are examples of fat soluble vitamins? Vitamin A, D, E, K. Just remember the word EDEK. Vitamin A, D, E, K. These are the fat soluble vitamins. Is it clear? So, water soluble vitamins and fat soluble vitamins. Now, we will see their chemical names and their deficiency disease. This will be asked in the exam. What is the chemical name of vitamin A? What is the chemical name of vitamin B1? What is the chemical name of vitamin C? Or what is the function of vitamin C? Like that they will ask. So, listen carefully. I'll write here water soluble vitamins, and here fat soluble vitamins. I already told you what are the different water soluble vitamins. Vitamin B1, B2, B3, B6, folic acid, pantothenic acid, biotin, and vitamin C. And for fat soluble, vitamin A, D, E, K. Remember the chemical names of them. Chemical name vitamin B1 is thiamine, B2 riboflavin, B3 niacin, B6 pyridoxine. Okay, pyridoxine. And folic acid is B9 actually. Pantothenic acid is vitamin B5. Biotin is vitamin B7 actually. And vitamin C is ascorbic acid. Vitamin A is called retinol because it is for the healthy retina. It is required. Retinol. D is called calciferol. E is tocopherol. And last, vitamin K is phylloquinone. These are the chemical names. Now coming to uh, their deficiency disease. Their deficiency disease. Vitamin B1, thiamine deficiency causes beriberi. Beriberi. Okay. And beriberi means the calf muscles, they become very weak, tender abdomen. And riboflavin, it causes glossitis. In Greek, glossina meaning tongue. Glossitis means sores on the tongue, some blisters on the tongue. Sometimes on the tongue you may have sore red color ulcers. It may be very painful, and some blisters may be appear on the tongue tip, on the edges of the tongue. That's because of vitamin B2 deficiency, riboflavin. And here the angles of the mouth also will be very dry. It will be very dry, scaly, and very cracked. Very dry angles of the mouth, and so red boils and blisters and ulcers on the tongue. That's called as a glossitis. And next, coming to niacin. Niacin deficiency causes pellagra. Pellagra meaning skin becomes very dry and cracked and very scaly, and photophobia. I mean, photophobia means it doesn't like to go to the sunlight, always like to sit in the dark, in the absence of light. Skin becomes very rough, very dry. And pyridoxine. Pyridoxine deficiency causes anemia because of low iron. Low iron. Okay. And folic acid. Folic acid deficiency, it causes B1, B2, B3, B6, and folic acid deficiency also called as sorry, small mistake. Pyridoxine deficiency, it causes uh, pel- folic acid is anemia. Where is B12? See, I forgot B12 actually. That's what I'm wondering. There's B12 also, very, very important. B12. B12 is called as cyanocobalamin, a very big name. The biggest number 12 and the biggest name, cyanocobalamin. Cyanocobalamin. Yeah, right. So now the B6 causes anemia, right? Folic acid also causes anemia, but this vitamin B12, it causes pernicious anemia. See, in all these cases, what does anemia mean? Anemia meaning low red blood cells, less number of red blood cells, less number of red blood cells. But what is the difference between this anemia and this anemia? See, one thing I want to say, red blood cells are formed in the bones, in the bone marrow. And for the formation of red blood cells, you require iron and B12. Both are required to the formation of red blood cell. There's a big story how red blood cells are manufactured in the bone marrow. But remember that iron and B12 both are required. Iron is required to form hemoglobin, and that hemoglobin should be stuffed in the red blood cell. But B12, it's also used. Iron is used for the formation of hemoglobin, and B12, it packs this hemoglobin into the red blood cell. So both are required. But if there is less iron, definitely no red blood cell. That is called anemia. If there is no B12, then also no red blood cell. That is called as pernicious anemia. So both anemia or pernicious anemia is nothing but low RBC count, less number of red blood cells. But general anemia is because of less iron. Pernicious anemia is because of less B12. And remember, this B12 is the only vitamin which can be made in our body by the intestinal bacteria. Generally, vitamins are available in our diet, in our food, but the only vitamin which can be made, which need not be taken to the food, which can be made in our intestinal bacteria, is vitamin B12. This is very, very important. The only vitamin which can be prepared by the bacteria in our intestine, because in our intestine there are also some useful bacteria also. We should not, that is why it's advised not to take unnecessarily any antibiotics, because if you take unnecessarily antibiotics, such useful bacteria also will be killed. And you should not eat hot food or spicy food. They will also go and damage this useful bacteria. So there are some intestinal bacteria which are very useful to us. One example is the bacteria which is giving this vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin. Its deficiency causes less RBC, which is called pernicious anemia. And next, pantothenic acid. Pantothenic acid, it causes a burning feet. Burning feet. తెలుగులో అప్పుడప్పుడు అరికాల్లో బాగా మంట వేస్తుంది అంటుంటారు కదా, కాళ్ళల్లో బాగా మంట అని. దట్స్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ pantothenic acid, burning feet sensation. And next, biotin deficiency causes nervous disorders. నర్వస్ డిజార్డర్స్, ఊకే కళ్ళు తిరిగి పడిపోవడము, ఫ్యాటిగ్, అన్కాన్షియస్ అయిపోవడము, అండ్ ఊరికూరికే స్ట్రెస్కి లోన్ అవ్వడము, అలాంటి నర్వస్ డిజార్డర్స్ ఇస్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ బయోటిన్. అండ్ విటమిన్ సి డెఫిషియన్సీ కాజెస్ స్కర్వీ. స్కర్వీ అంటే వేర్ ద గమ్స్ ఆర్ వెరీ సెన్సిటివ్, దే విల్ swell, very painful, and may even burst and cause bleeding also. వెరీ పెయిన్ఫుల్ స్వెల్లింగ్ ఆఫ్ ద గమ్స్. ఈ చిగుర్లు ఊరికూరికే వాస్తుంటాయి అండ్ బ్లీడింగ్ అవుతుంటుంది. ఈవెన్ ఇఫ్ యూ బ్రష్ వెరీ జెంట్లీ ఆల్సో, ద గమ్స్ విల్ బి tearing out, or it ruptures and causes some bleeding. So painful swelling of the gums, leading to frequent bleeding of the gums, that is because of vitamin C, ascorbic acid. దానికోసం బాగా విటమిన్ సి ఉన్న లైక్ లెమన్స్, ఆరెంజెస్, గ్రేప్స్, గూస్బెర్రీస్, ఆమ్లా, టొమాటోస్ అవన్నీ తీసుకోవచ్చు, విటమిన్ సి ఎక్కువ ఉన్నటువంటి. నౌ కమింగ్ టు విటమిన్ ఏ. Vitamin A is also called as tocopherol. It is useful for the normal functioning of the retina. If that is not there, it causes color blindness. It causes color blindness, also night blindness, and xerophthalmia. Xerophthalmia meaning xero meaning dry, ophthalmia meaning eyes, dry eyes. The tears will not be produced. The surface of the eyeball becomes very rough. It's very difficult to open and close the eyelids also. That's called a dry eyes. That is because of vitamin A, retinol. Next, calciferol. It is useful for absorption of calcium from the okay. Its deficiency causes rickets, because calciferol is a vitamin which picks up the calcium from the intestine and puts it in the into the villi, into the blood. Manam, the calcium what you take through milk, or through leafy vegetables, or through any fruits, whatever you get, the calcium, if it should be absorbed by the villi of the intestine into the blood, this calciferol should be there. Calciferol, it will carry the calcium on its head and bring into the blood. It will carry. Calciferol will carry the calcium from the digested food into the blood. It will bring it. It will pull the calcium. But if that calciferol is not there, the calcium will be left in the intestine itself, and it will be defecated out, and it will be sent out of the excretory system. It will be excreted out. So remember, though calcium is present in your food, there should be even vitamin D. Only that vitamin D, calciferol, it will take the calcium and into the blood, and also deposit in the bones and teeth. But if that calciferol is not there, however amount of calcium present in the food also is useless. The bones and the teeth will become very, very weak. Even if you do like this also, the teeth will break. Or if you do like this also, the bones will break. The bones will become, it's called knock knees, tender knees, and very brittle, weak bones and teeth. Next, coming to tocopherol. Tocopherol maintains fertility, but if that is not there, it causes fertility problems. Fertility problems, like if sperms have to be produced in males, this tocopherol should be there. Or if ova should be produced in the female, this tocopherol should be there. And also during the development of the baby in the mother's stomach, during pregnancy period also, good amount of tocopherol should be there, because that takes care of the embryo temperature and certain things. So if tocopherol is not present in males, it causes sterility, no sperm production. And if there is no tocopherol in pregnant mothers, it results to abortion. So it causes sterility. It causes sterility in males and causes abortion in females, like that. Lastly, coming to phylloquinone. Phylloquinone is very much important for blood clotting. When there is no, because whenever you get a wound or injury, the blood will continuously be leaking out, but after some time a black mesh will be formed, that is called clot. That is because of this vitamin K. Okay, vitamin K, it blocks the blood loss and forms a clot. If there is no vitamin K or phylloquinone, there will be excess bleeding, or the blood will clot very slowly. By the time, lot of blood will be lost also. Okay, very dangerous. So it causes a delayed blood clotting. We call it as a delayed blood clotting. Delayed blood clotting. So vitamin K is also called as phylloquinone. It causes delay. If that is deficiency of vitamin K causes delayed blood clotting. The blood will clot very slowly. By the time a lot of blood will be lost also. So very dangerous situation. And one more thing, if they ask you name any food which contains vitamin B1 or A or B3 or anything, you can simply write milk, meat, eggs. That contains all these. If they ask you in the exam, mention any three food which contains vitamin D, A, E, K, B1, B2, B3, anything. Anything you write, milk, meat, eggs are very common. ఇంకొకటి అడిగితే leafy vegetables. Milk, meat, eggs, green leafy vegetables you write. It is present, they have all these vitamins. కాకపోతే only vitamin B12, it is produced by intestinal bacteria. That's not present in any food. Okay, milk, meat, eggs, or green leafy vegetables. If they ask any vitamin, name any four food which contains vitamin D: milk, meat, eggs, green leafy vegetables. But only B12, don't write those foods. By intestinal bacteria only vitamin B12 can be produced. Is it clear? That's the end of nutrition chapter. అర్థమైందా? Is it clear, everyone? If you have still any doubts, you can ask me in tomorrow's class. We'll discuss about any doubts from what you have listened today. Specific any doubts, you can ask me tomorrow. I'll clear it tomorrow. And one more thing, all of you, why can't you all subscribe my channel? Like, share, comment, and ఇంకేముంటుంది? Subscribe, like, share, comment, గంట బొమ్మ కదా. You click the bell icon. Okay, you share this channel with 1,000 members and ask them to share with another 1,000 members. I'll give you half mark free in the next exam. ఇప్పుడు మీకు ఎల్లుండి ఎగ్జామ్ ఉంది కదా, అందులో మీరు ఒక 1,000 మెంబర్స్కి షేర్ చేసి వాళ్ళని ఒక 1,000 మెంబర్స్కి షేర్ చేయమని చెప్పండి. మీకు ఒక హాఫ్ మార్క్ ఫ్రీ ఇస్తా. ఏది? ఎల్లుండి ఎగ్జామ్లో. హాఫ్ మార్కే కదట, ఫ్రీయే కదా. Okay, so it's late. Okay then, thanks for your time, thanks for your cooperation. Bye bye, take care, good night, and we'll meet in tomorrow's class. I'm closing it. ఫోలిక్ యాసిడ్ బీనేనే కదా అని రాసింది, రిషిప్రీతం. అవును, ఫోలిక్ యాసిడ్ని B9 కూడా అంటాం, ప్యాంటోథెనిసిన్ని B5, బయోటిన్ని B7 కూడా అంటాం. ఓకే రే, బాయ్, టేక్ కేర్, క్లోజింగ్ ఇట్. కానీ సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయండి, మర్చిపోకండి.